All right, we're here with Marcelo Garcia. He's at Gracie, Tampa South for a seminar. It's November 19th. Four-time Abu Dhabi champion. How you doing, Marcelo?
I'm doing good, you know. Just woke up, you know.
All right, we're going to get started with the questions. These are questions from my subscribers on the email list and from my students. Number one, everybody says you have a baby face, so nobody knows how old you are. How old are you, Marcelo?
Man, I don't know about that baby face, but I'm getting really old, you know what I mean? Feels like old. Just in January of 2012, I'm going to turn like 30 years old.
30 years old.
That's a lot, you know what I mean?
Nice.
I remember my 17 years old, you know what I mean? It was a good time. That time, no pain, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Okay, so what year did you start training? And how old were you?
It's like a tough question. I think it was when I was like 12 years old. And yeah, I'm gonna have to make the math like it.
Okay, so 82 to 12, that would be 94.
Yes, something like that. You know, that year was like between like a judo and jiu-jitsu. That's how how it started, and it was that much different. Wasn't that much different from me in that time. It was like a judo and jiu-jitsu, like kind of the same thing for me.
Okay. So how many years then? This is a lot of math. How many years did it take to get your black belt?
I got my black belt in 2002. So it was like
94 to 2002, 8 years.
Yes.
Nice.
You're good, math.
Got my math down. All right, so a big question was, this was actually a repeated question.
Mm-hmm.
So you trained all these years from 94 to, to now, but in 2002, 2003 is when everybody started finding out, who's Marcelo Garcia,
mm-hmm.
when you came onto the scene in Abu Dhabi and did what you did. So between like 2002 and 2003, when you went to Abu Dhabi, what changed? I guess how did you get from like who's Marcelo to?
I think it was just because exposure. You know, like that was definitely like my first world title tournament. Like it was just no gi world title. Like even we don't call like a world title like the Abu Dhabi competition, but everybody knows like it's the competition that happens every 2 years. And it's pretty much like the biggest tournament, so we believe like that's more like a world title, and it's just so much like exposed behind, you know what I mean, from Abu Dhabi, because it's really traditional tournament. Like everyone like the succeed to MMA already one time they compete like in Abu Dhabi, so I guess that's how it become like so famous, and if you win that like you get more exposed, you know what I mean. But on my mind, that definitely doesn't change that much because my training was already the same, you know what I mean? And of course, you just start like take advantage to people know you, and then you start to have more work to do. You understand?
True.
Work, I mean, like just people start to call you for seminars, and then is the good side for sure.
Okay. So before 2003, so you're saying you were still winning a lot of tournaments, but just 2003 is when everybody saw it. So you were still winning before that?
Yes, and before I was winning even more, but of course it was just a small tournament, you know.
Right.
In that time, like I was much more young. I was like compete all the time. Like I told, like when I was 17, maybe it was one of my best years. I was compete like every weekend, you know what I mean? And right when I was 17, I remember to compete like 6 weekends straight. That was the most that I ever did. It's a lot for some people, but maybe some people do more than that. But for me, it was a lot, you know.
Yeah.
And it was a good time, you know.
17, you could recover pretty easily.
Yes.
Doesn't matter. Okay. Fabio Gurgel, at one point and right now, was your coach. When did you start training with him? What belt were you?
I started training with him when I was like end of 2001, like December 2001, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And I was already a brown belt, but I had the chance to train with him a couple of times before. I visited his school, you know, because my wife was always his students. And I was already from the Alliance, and because he's like one of the head coach of the Alliance, so just make the connection easy. But since like end of 2001, you know, that's when I really had the chance to train with him.
Okay, he's developed like so many good guys, Yuka Brina, like like I was asking you yesterday, like what makes him such a great coach? Like how is he producing all these top-notch guys? Like what is it that he's doing or teaching or?
Definitely, like it's just like it's because he's been in this business for so long. You understand? I remember when I got there, I think in 2000, around 2001, 2002. I remember that number so much. Like he was already he already had like 10 years of black belt in that time. So imagine like you know how much time I had. He already have from me and from a lot of people, you know. And another thing that I see he's doing, and I try to follow him. You know what I mean? I follow him a lot. You know what I mean? Like his way to do stuff. You know what I mean? And he teach. He run a class every day. But at the same time, he always training, you understand, in the class.
Rolls with all the students.
Yeah, sometimes he's outside, you know what I mean? You know, he's getting old too, you know, I'm getting old too, he's getting older too, but like, he's, you know, sometimes he's outside just like take apart, you know, in techniques and help the students, but most of the time he's training, you know what I mean? And I guess that helps, you know, like your students see what they need, you know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
if you open to help them, you know what I mean? That way, I'm sure you're gonna make a good students and take advantage of like the time that you guys get together. You know?
Okay. All right. This is a weird question maybe for you to answer, but it was a very common question.
All right.
All right. So there's a lot of good grapplers out there. Fabio Gracie, you know, just a lot of great grapplers. Why are you so good? What makes your game so like good? Like
I don't know how much good I am. I don't like to think about that. You know what I mean? But one thing that I believe for sure, and I'm really proud to say, I think I love more jiu-jitsu than anybody else. You understand? That's why like I'm proud to say that, and I believe like I can stay on the mat training more than a lot of people. And I think that's what really helped me like all those years. You know what I mean? I don't feel like sometimes you feel a little bit like a worker. You have the responsibility, you have the time to be on the mat. But beside that, I'm enjoying the whole time. I guess that's like that's the secret. I think, you know what I mean. Sometimes people ask me, I was like, look, you gotta enjoy what you're doing. You know, if you don't enjoy it, I don't think you can go too far. You know.
Absolutely, that's a good. All right, so that brings me to my next question. You were saying, you know, you train a lot more than most people.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think is more important, like rolling time or repping techniques? Like just drill the technique, or both?
If I have to choose one, you know what I mean, like definitely it's like rolling time, you know what I mean? But doesn't help if you roll and you don't know what you're doing, you know?
Right.
You gotta have like you gotta have a game in your mind that you're gonna work on, you know what I mean? Like I have like an idea. I woke up this morning, I see something, I watch a video. Internet today is like crazy, you can find everything you want. And you gotta go to the match, you know what I mean? So you gotta know, like you gotta learn something, and sometime before you start rolling, you gotta drill that thing that you kind of figure out, you know what I mean? Or if you have a coach, you know, he shows something like, you know, most of the people definitely like to have a coach today, you know, he shows something, you gotta go to the match and just force that. But of course, you gotta drill to just understand like the technique and to your body kind of like get familiar to the movement, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Okay. As far as rolling, like what would you say for a guy coming up? Like, what's the minimum you would roll, like the minimum amount of time per day or per class, or to get good fast?
If you're gonna put like a number, like I told, like you shouldn't think about number, but just like to do as much you can and hope to you've been doing more than other people. Just if you try to get better. But if you're gonna talk about number, at least like 2 classes a day. And what I mean, like each class almost an hour of rolling. You know.
That's what I figured. Yeah.
And of course the other part of warm up and technique, you know what I mean? The drilling, but about rolling, you know, maybe if you want to put a number, an hour each class is pretty good.
Okay. All right, Marcel. So for someone who maybe is a blue belt, like Peyton here, and just like him, he wants to be a world champion at every belt. What are 3 tips you would give him right now that you've experienced? Because you won the worlds at every belt, right?
Yes.
So what would you give him as far as like just 3 tips out of the blue?
Just people gotta know it's not easy, because a lot of people's gonna be trying to do the same thing to you, but you gotta know you have to do more than the other people, you understand? Like you gotta be more on the mat than the other people. But you gotta just like enjoy being on the mat. Try train as much you can, you know what I mean? I got maybe 1 year of my life, I remember. It's hard to explain because a lot of why and how. But 1 year of my life, I trained like 4 times a day, you understand? I couldn't do more than that year, you know what I mean? But I was training I was training 4 times a day. And you shouldn't be happy with how much you train, never be satisfied, you know what I mean? On my conscience, I always feel like I should be training more, but sometimes you get in the point that you can't do it, you know, your body exhausts, you know what I mean? And sometimes there's no more than 4 classes a day, you know what I mean? That was the case in my school, you know what I mean?
No one wants to train with you anymore. Like, where'd everybody go?
Maybe that happened too. And never be like a really satisfied, you know what I mean? Don't be kind of like satisfied with like, oh, I already trained 2 times, you know? If you rest, you know what I mean? If you feel good, if that's 1 class started right now, just do it, you know what I mean? Like just try to push yourself more. And like I said, like don't feel good about it, you know what I mean? I don't feel like, oh, I think I'm good enough, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I already trained today. If you have a chance, like try training more, you understand? And after you won 1 world title in the blue belt, like never feel you're the best. Don't think you're the best, you know what I mean? Like feel like, oh, I should train more, you understand? And I guess that's what really like keep you getting better, you know what I mean? And guarantee like you're gonna have a chance to train more than other people if you push yourself the maximum, you know what I mean? And try and enjoy that, because if you don't enjoy it, it's gonna be like a pain, you know what I mean?
Perfect. Okay. All right. So it seems like, and I don't know personally, but it seems like before 2007, just from what we saw from you competing, you didn't use the guillotine or the north-south choke as much. It seemed like in 03 and 05 you were more in the X guard, taking the back and using rear naked choke a lot. But then in 07 it seems like you broke out the north-south choke and the guillotine choke, and everyone was like, well, what the hell? Like, so like, was that something you were working on all that time and then you finally got really good at it, or is that something you just decided to pull out because it's newer for you? Or
you know, definitely like sometimes you have to try surprise, you know, your opponent, you know what I mean? Or not even your opponent, but like just people who you train every day, you know what I mean? You gotta do something new. If you don't do something new, you're never gonna like improve your game. But imagine like every time you guys see me doing something and work, something that work in the competition, I'm guaranteed like maybe I already trained like 5 years that thing, you know what I mean? And took a lot of time to get into that level, you know what I mean? Like the NorthSouth Choke, I still remember my first tournament and who I submitted in my first NorthSouth Choke, and it was a super fight, you know what I mean? And I got the submission. It wasn't perfect, but I was able to submit him. It wasn't that much confident, maybe it was even a little bit neck cranky. But the guy tapped, and I was trying to do the technique right. But before that, probably was already like training like 2 years that technique, you know what I mean? And after like 2 more years, maybe it was like the Abu Dhabi or 2007, and that's when I was really like I feel more comfortable with the setups, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So just like don't be satisfied with like everything you're doing. Always try like learn something new, and try your best to master all these situations, you know what I mean? The ways that your opponent's gonna be doing to defend. Try and understand everything, and don't be satisfied with just doing one thing, you know, because you're gonna need more later, you know what I mean? So just like try and improve like all the time, and it's gonna take time, you know what I mean? So just believe it.
so let's say you like you're a blue belt and you develop a game, like you decide this is going to be my game, you know what I mean? Like these moves work for me, and you develop them: blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, black belt, and that's like your game. So are you saying that you should add, like if you find a new technique that you think will work, you should add that to your game instead of just keeping that same game?
Exactly. Don't be satisfied with just like those 10 moves, you know what I mean? Or at least like just break down more, you know what I mean? Like just, I have those 10 moves, but if those 10 moves doesn't work, each one have like just like a backup plan, you know what I mean? Something like that, you know what I mean?
Okay, perfect. It seems like a big question was, why don't you play from the half guard a lot? Like, why don't you do like everybody's doing, the deep half guard and going upside down and all that kind of stuff? It seems like when you get half guard, you'll go back to butterfly, or you'll just take the back or whatever. So
I can give like just a simple question, like a simple answer, like because it's still in the back of my mind. I lost one tournament, really important for me, when I was a brown belt. All the tournaments was important, but this one was even important because I lost and I couldn't do it right. And I lost because I was stuck in the half guard for like 8 minutes, you understand? And that's already like a reason to me, like, oh, I gotta improve, you understand? And I had, for example, like deep half guard was one of my favorite moves. I was able to hang there, a little longer. Even if the guy is bigger, I could able to like hold the position. And then I realized like I wasn't the only one able to do that. The guy at the same time he was able to hold that position. So I lost to a guy who was like my division and someone that I already beat in the final of like the world championship as a purple belt. Someone that I trained with him a couple of times, and he got to know a little bit my game, I believe, and he held me in that position. He got a half guard, he won by advantage, and that got me like, all right, I gotta improve. And the only thing that I got to do after that was like just keep working more. But if I avoid that situation, I mean, like, or maybe if you go to a deep half guard, go to like an X guard after. Just don't rest over there. Just don't be like too comfortable over there, because the guy on top can find his way to balance himself over there. And it's still in my memory, you know what I mean? That thing,
So you don't forget that. All right. Something that you just reminded me of is something we were talking about yesterday, which helped me a lot. So I'm sure it would help everybody else. Was you were talking about not playing into the other person's game, like that they've been working on for 10 years, and why would you try to go into that game and think that you could you just explain that a little bit?
I just feel like you should have your game, you should have the moves that you like to practice that every day, and you'll be working hard to make those moves like improve and get like I guess like you say, like get roots, you know what I mean, from one move to the other, all those connections, and you should just try to play that game. But if you know a little bit about the other person's game, sometimes you face someone in like the jiu-jitsu grappling tournament, you never see that guy, so you can't do much to avoid his game. But if you know someone is that good, so good in one game, just don't try like a headbutt with him. I mean, don't go straight to his game and try to beat his game, because maybe he already doing that for so long, and you have a very low chance to win. But if you have like if you believe in one game and he's believing on his game, and the game is the same, maybe you good arm drag, I'm good arm drag, and all right, you gotta still believe in your game, even if he's good, like, but you gotta believe you did a better train than he, and just still do your game. You know what I mean? Even he's know about that.
But
if he's know about one thing and you're not so sure about training that thing, you don't doing that for like I told, like 5 years. Don't get into it. Try avoid that and still do your thing. You know what I mean? I'm not telling you for stalling, but just like push your game through. You know what I mean?
Perfect. How do you feel, if at all, your game changes from gi to no gi? Like I noticed, I could be wrong, but I noticed that you don't do as many guillotines in the gi. Is that true?
Yeah, there's no guillotine in the gi.
No guillotines in the gi?
Not even the train, I not even tried, because I know like the percentage is really low.
Because of the gi is up protecting their neck?
The goal is gonna be there, you understand?
And then I don't see you do a whole lot of gi chokes either. Like we're using the gi to choke it, well, except from the back, but like not from the guard. It seems like you don't do a whole lot of gi chokes. So like how does it change, your game change from gi to no gi?
I definitely try to do the same thing for both. On my mind, like it's pretty clear, but that's just like a few exceptions like that. You can do it, you know what I mean? Like do never try to find like a pistol grip in the no gi, because it's not gonna be the same. But I always just try to adapt those little things, and like just make the grip like work like a wrist control or like an elbow grip, you know what I mean? And just avoid those grips that you used to do with the gi. Try adapt there, and some moves, very few is definitely not gonna work for both. So just try to figure out which one.
You say guillotine's probably one of them?
Yeah, I not even try, you know what I mean?
Huh.
One thing that is similar to guillotine and sometimes just come out is just like almost like a guillotine, but instead you connect your hands, you reach the collar, and you just kind of rotate, you know what I mean?
The wraparound type
But
chokes.
it's not something that is going to be there all the time, you know what I mean? It's not as fast like the guillotine. You gotta hope the collar it's open up to when you shove your arm, the collar will be open. So it's something that's similar to the guillotine, but it's not even close to how many times you be able to do in the no gi and to do with the gi training. You know what I mean? So just try to understand like the difference that is like a gi and no gi, and you still believe it's not a lot different, but just try to understand a little adaptation that you have to do for both. You know?
So in your tournaments, it never seems like you get tired. So like a lot of guys will like die out while you'll still be breathing through your nose. So like a lot of people are wondering, what do you do to get in shape? Like how's your cardio like that?
Like I told you, just come from like maybe the first question that you told me. Mm-hmm. I just enjoy to be on the mat. I try to do as much I can. I still try to put as much time on the mat I can. And definitely that was make like my cardio like better in jiu-jitsu, but just try don't show to your opponent if you're tired either.
Don't even let them know.
That's some people that I train. They're like especially like my training partners. I get tired all the time too, and I just try like if it's my training partner, I just don't mind to show I'm tired. But if you go to a competition, it's like it's something important that you have to me. It's a big like ad that you have. If you don't show your opponent, you're tired. You know what I mean? And even like if you're tired, I get tired all the time. Believe your opponent is more tired than you. You understand? You're both gonna get tired, but believe he's gonna get tired more than you because you train hard for that. You know what I mean? And that makes you comfortable to push 100% because he's gonna have to be pushing 100% to defend you. You know what I mean? But it's just fun sometimes. You know, like a couple times when I was compete, I see like my opponent start to breathing hard, and that just give me like a lot of strength, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. One time I was having like hard time with someone, it was a super fight too, no gi, and the guy started to breathe really hard, you know what I mean? He's like, breathe really hard with like 1 minute and a half of competition. I was trying my best already, and I was able to get anything, but I was still trying. And that time I was like getting a little bit frustrated, and when I saw him breathing hard, I was like, I'm not gonna stop now, you know what I mean? I knew like I couldn't get any points, but I knew I got like he tired, so like that was one thing, you know what I mean? And I was lucky because right when I started to push that idea on my mind, I got something from him. And then later was like I started like I just dominated the fight, and I even got the submission, you know what I mean? And this guy even came train with me, you know what I mean? And I realized like now that he trained with me a couple of times, he always looked like that, you know what I mean? He looked tired, but he's not tired, you know what I mean? But I'm glad like and that's one thing that you don't want to show to your opponent because maybe giving him some strength, even if you're not tired, so just don't show it, you know what I mean?
Smart. So I guess the other question was, so you don't do any like weight training or any other type of thing to supplement your training?
I tried so many times, and so many times I was pushing to do those weight training. The maximum that I did was 8 months. I like to tell just to people, everyone who pushed me, all the condition coach maybe know, and I feel pretty confident to tell them like they pushed me so hard, and I never really enjoyed, and I never felt that helped me even an inch, you know what I mean? And I was always much more happy when I was just doing the jiu-jitsu training than do the condition training. And today, after so many years, like back and forth with those things, you know what I mean? And most of the time I was doing like 3 weeks, and I was quit. Like 2 weeks, I was like, I can't do that anymore, you know? And I just feel like the whole training that I did on the mat was more important than those trainings. Today, that it's been so long that I'm kind of by myself, you know what I mean? I have my coach, but my coach is in Brazil. So it's been so long that I don't do anything, not even jogging, you know what I mean? Maybe jogging has been more than like maybe it's gonna do like 4 years that on jogging outside.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Because I just prefer to be spend energy and sweat on the mat, not outside. You know what I mean? But if you don't have a chance to do that much just to train, I'm sure those things will help you. You know what I'm saying? If you don't have the chance to get yourself exhausted in jiu-jitsu, those things help. But if you have a chance to do jiu-jitsu beside that, just do it. You know what I mean? Like,
So like you recommend like when someone's exhausted, let's say they did 4 or 5 rolls, maybe like 45 minutes of rolling, and they're exhausted, should they keep going just to get their cardio?
you know, just don't get yourself out. Imagine if you're gonna do 2 classes, just don't kill yourself in the first class. Try to do as much you can, but try hard, you know what I mean? And try save energy to train again later and still train hard, you know what I mean? And just do as much as you can, you know what I mean?
Perfect. Thank you, Marcelo.
Thank
Looking
you.
forward to your seminar, and we appreciate all your time. I'm sure everyone's going to gain from the interview here and all your knowledge from all the years you've been training, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Like, it's funny and good for me because every time we talk, you know what I mean, and you doing the interviews, like, make like me think a lot, and I was like,
I got
feel
all the
like,
questions.
and I was like, I feel like just work my mind good in a good way, you know what I mean? Like, I'm happy to.
Thanks again, brother.